All right, so now underneath here, this is where your oil drain plug is located. We need to take the shield off underneath here. We have 4 10mm bolts underneath here. We're going to shoot those bolts out, and we're going to take this cover here down, and the drain plug should be right around this area right here. So all right, let's get set up and let's continue. Usually there's a bunch of crap on top of this that comes down with it, but we'll see. A lot of dirt and all that kind of stuff on there. Now this is your oil drain plug right here. So let's bring a bucket over and we're going to drain it out now. So I always wear gloves. We're going to make sure we have our bucket up, and we'll take our drain plug out. Okay, now we're just going to let it drain a little bit. Okay, now that it's finished draining out, you want to make sure that your drain plug is in good condition. Make sure that your O-ring right on here is not damaged. If it's damaged, you want to replace it, but this one we're not going to do anything with. It's in good shape. You're going to screw that drain plug back in by hand only. All right, then we're going to snug that drain plug back in. We're going to wipe off any residual oil that's underneath here. And now we're going to put our cover back up underneath the bottom right here. Before you tighten any of these bolts in, you want to catch all of them by hand first. Otherwise, if you try to tighten it up and it's off just a little bit, you're not going to be able to get the bolt back in there. Now once we have that back on, I will lower it down and we'll continue up top. Okay, now as you can see, I have my bucket here to put the filter and the plastic cap into. Now you can see that where it's located is not the best place in the world. When you pull this out, you are going to get a couple of drops of oil around in here, so be careful. Use a rag and clean up after yourself. All right, that's pretty much it. We're going to come in here now. We're going to get the socket that fits on the top over here. It's probably going to be around a 30mm, something like that. Just goes on just like this, and then we're going to get in here with a ratchet. We're going to loosen it up and we're going to take it out. Okay, all right, so now what we're going to do is we're just going to get in here with a fairly long ratchet. I am using an extension that's a little longer so you can see what I'm doing. You want to hold it so that this is nice and straight. You don't want to pull it crooked and break off the housing down the bottom. So one hand up here, and you just twist it, and it comes right out. I apologize about these lights being in the way here. Problem is, these cars today, nothing underneath the hood is made of metal anymore. Everything's made of plastic or some kind of non-magnetic metal. What it is, who knows? All right, so now we're going to take our bucket, we're going to take our rag, and we're going to try to minimize the amount of oil that we leak. You can see I'm coming down through the bottom right up over here. I want to try to minimize the amount of oil that we're going to drip. All right. This filter, then you just pull the filter, it pops right out just like this. And now we have a new O-ring in hand. We take the cap like this, hook it with a scribe like this, and take the O-ring off. Just drop it. The new one goes on just like this. And then you hook it with your scribe or a screwdriver, whatever you have. And make sure you go back into the groove where you previously removed it from. We take our new filter, remember this end goes in here and you push it and you see it snaps in, so it's nice and tight. We're going to put a little bead of clean oil on here and then we're going to screw it back in. But let's get rid of this stuff first and then we'll put that back. Now, you want to use clean oil when you put this back in. You don't want to use any dirty oil. All right? And we're going to take it, we put it over the top like this. You screw it down by hand first, as far down as you can by hand. And then once you have it screwed down, then you can tighten it up with your ratchet. Okay, hold your hand on the ratchet up on the top right here and make sure it's snug. It does not have to be real tight. And the reason for that, I'll bring you in there, I'll show you why. What happens is this is in contact with the plastic down the bottom, but that rubber seal that we put in there is what actually seals the oil from coming out. All right, now we're going to put the oil in. The oil is you always want to use the recommended oil for the car. In this particular case, you see it calls for a 5W30. That's what we're going to use. Let's go back to the computer and look it up and see how many quarts we're going to need, and then we'll continue. Okay. Now make sure you look it up for the correct vehicle. 2011 Chrysler 300, 3.6 liter. And we know it takes 5.7 liters or 6 quarts. Alright, so let's get out there and we'll put the correct oil in. If you don't have this computer to look it up, obviously, you can find that quantity in your owner's manual. Alright, let's continue. Okay, always use a funnel whenever you put the motor oil back in because you know you're going to wind up making a mess. And as you can see, you always want to use the oil that's recommended. It calls for 530, and that's what we're going to put in. So, alright, let's put the oil in and we'll get this job wrapped up. Okay, now I put in about 5.5 quarts because I want to start it and I want to make sure it's full, right to the full mark so we don't have it overfilled. So we're going to take our funnel out. We're going to install the oil cap back on the vehicle, and now we're going to start it up for a couple of minutes, or a couple of seconds just to get the oil circulating, and then we're going to check the oil level. Now that we had the oil circulating, we're just going to wait a minute or so and then we're going to pull the dipstick out and check the level. bring you over here. This is our dipstick right here. We're just going to pull the stick out, wipe it down so it's clean. We'll put it back all the way in. Make sure you push it all the way down as far as it can go. And pull it out. It helps if I can see. Okay, we're going to put just a tiny bit more in there because you can see it's down just a little bit. So we're going to put that other half a quart inside the car, and that's it. We'll be all set. Half a quart. It's always, if you're not sure how much it takes, it's always a good idea to have a little bit less than a little bit too much. Much easier to add oil than it is to take it back out. That's that. Let's pull that stick out one more time. Make sure. And there you go. You can see it's right up to the foam mark. Okay, so that's it. The oil is all changed, but I almost forgot to tell you that you need to reset the oil maintenance reminder light on this particular car. And the way you do that is you get into the vehicle, you turn the key to the on position without starting the car. Very important, you make sure your car is not running. And you step on the accelerator 3 times within 10 seconds to the floor. You step and release, step and release, step and release within 3 times within 10 seconds, and it'll reset to 100%. So let's go inside the car and let's finish this job off. Okay. All right, now, as you know, this car is a push button. You've got the push button start right here. Now, if you push this button and step on the brake, it's going to start up. So what you're going to do is you're not going to step on the brake pedal. You keep your foot off the brake pedal, press this until everything comes alive on the dashboard, and then you step 3 times within 10 seconds. Then we turn the key off. And now we'll start it up. That's it, we're reset.